Yo, 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 what's going on, everybody? My name is Rob Carmona, and welcome back to another episode of Rob the Mic. The first thing we need to start with is me thanking you guys for all of the love and support on last week's episode. It was a really important one for me, and I know it was important for a lot of people, but the fact that it was being dedicated to Waxer and Ronnie was huge. And I honestly cannot thank you enough for all of the kind words, the reposting, just the supporting in general for it. I mean, again, you guys are phenomenal. It blows my mind every single week, but especially when something like that close, that personal is put out, I get kind of nervous because I don't really know how it's going to go over. I don't know how it's going to be received. And granted, I always try to be as candid as possible and just try and put myself out there and be super vulnerable, but I also realize that for some of these subjects and some of these things, it can be a little on the tougher side. And I try my best to remain super sensitive to anybody that's involved in it on the outside, like especially for last week, right? Like, even though I was talking about my experience with Waxer and like being at his service, it was like, I also have to be mindful of the other people that were there. I always have to be super mindful of that. So, and this isn't just for that, this is for anything, right? That anything that could be involving anyone, I always have to be mindful of that. And even talking about Ronnie, I was trying to be just as aware as I could be. You know, I don't want to say something wrong. I don't want to go about a certain thing wrong. So again, I'm at a loss for words. I really am. It was super overwhelming even till today. Like, there's still people reposting it. There's still people commenting. There's still interactions. There's still messages coming in. It blows my mind. You know, I've gotten some of the conversations that I've had because of it, I couldn't have ever imagined having. And actually, I had a really wild conversation with JP, which is one of the photographers I was talking about on last week's cast. We went into this super deep conversation about life and death and just how we kind of navigate. And also we started talking like as artists, like what he's creating, what I like to create, and how we can work together in the future, which we are talking about a project that I'm really excited about. That won't be coming till after the new year, but I'm really excited. And when I get some more info and we get things kind of mapped out a little bit more, I'll be letting you guys know about that. But just once again, like I was talking about in the cast, how even though Waxer isn't here, he was still able to bring us together. These new connections, these new people that I've established, just almost even day-to-day contact with is nuts. Because these are people that I probably would have never talk to, or maybe eventually I would have run into them and like just kind of exchange a couple words here and there, but the connection probably wouldn't have been as strong as it is right now because of the situation, because of what's gone down. And I'm really thankful for it. I can't tell you how many times that I've had where I've just kind of sat here and thought about everything that's gone down since his funeral, since his passing, to be honest, especially for Waxers, that it's kind of shifted things for me, relationships with people in the best way possible. And I'm just really thankful, really, really thankful. Very, very blessed to be in the position that I'm in, for sure. And I'm at a loss for words with you guys. I do this and it's to help me, but I don't realize that a lot of these words that I'm talking about and a lot of these subjects that I speak on, they actually end up helping so many other people. And it's a bonus for me. And I become kind of stuck in it because I'm like, damn, like the pressure starts to set in that way. Because again, like I've told you guys before, I sit in front of the camera, I record this stuff, and then I upload it and I walk away from it, kind of like not fully, but kind of, right? But I don't realize sometimes now that things like this, especially with last week's podcast, when I have moments like that, it makes me realize how many eyes are really watching and how many people and how many ears are listening, because these things really have an impact. And again, the conversations that have been started would have never started if it wasn't for things like this taking place. So I thank you guys for all of your support, all of your constant love for me, for the cast, for this project, for the stuff that I continue to do outside of here, like the photography and any sort of media work that I've been posting. You guys are wild. You guys really are wild. And I'm so thankful. So thank you, every single one of you guys. Thank you so much for being here for me, for being here for the cast, all of it. Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart. And what I also wanted to talk about is last week specifically, right? Because we had Thanksgiving, and I think there's a few difficulties, there's a few hurdles that I had to get through that I thought were interesting, and I kind of wanted to share it with you guys. So going into Thanksgiving, it's not that I was like trying to force myself to be positive about it. I was trying to force myself to be happy about it. And it ended up backfiring on me. But I remember earlier that week in therapy, I had talked to my therapist about it, and I was like, hey, this is how I'm feeling, Evely. Her name's Evely, by the way. I was like, Evely, this is how I'm feeling. I'm a little nervous because of XYZ. I don't know how certain family's going to act. I don't know how things are going to go. And I'm trying to be cool, but let's say things don't go as planned, or like if someone's being extra theatrical, like how do I deal with that? Because right now I'm very much still in the mindset of like, if somebody wants it, they can get it. Or if someone's acting stupid, like I'm going to let them know. But I think there's also times that we have to remember when we feel like that, that's the time that we actually have to step away. So when we want to respond, don't respond. And like we've talked about here on the show before, I bring it from my childhood. My mom always told me, you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. So it's like that, but taking it a step further. So when I was talking to Evely about it, she's like, dude, if someone's going to be theatrical about it, for example, like regarding your uncle, and they're going to start crying or they're going to start acting some sort of way, just let them do it for themselves. The theatrics are for them. If it makes them feel better, that's okay. You know the truth, and you know that it's a joke. So, and not that it's really a joke, but it is a joke, right? Because you know how people are. Like, for example, like with my uncle, I have certain things that, not that like people didn't care when he was alive, because they obviously did, but just within the family, I think there are certain people and certain things that I was just kind of like, this is interesting, because when he was here, like if it was regarding a certain person, it's like, you didn't really act like that. It was more so like you could care less. So I started that, all of that kind of started to fall on me, started to affect me. And I know a lot of you watching and or listening can probably agree with me to a certain extent that you might have people like that, or you have instances like that, where you have certain people who act extra theatrical. They kind of want to make things about them. They kind of make it like a spectacle. It's like, dude, stop. But again, I was trying to not let that and those things get the best of me. So I wanted to learn and have skills of like, what do I do in that moment? Like, what can I do to remind myself, like, yo, Rob, chill out, go outside, do something. But I had to figure something out. But as I talked with her about it, I was able to kind of get my bearings on a couple things. She brought in some new perspectives that I hadn't really thought of, including that one, just kind of let people act, let people go about their show however they want to go about it. So when I did that, believe it or not, it helped me a lot. And I was able to get through my Thanksgiving dinner, which was okay. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good. It felt very like neutral. And was it sad? Of course. It was weird. I've already been to my uncle's house a ton of times since his passing. And I spent a lot of time there just hanging out with my aunt or like helping her with stuff around the house, whatever. But this is the first holiday that I've spent with the whole family, like all of us being together in a place that he always was. So that was weird. But the biggest takeaway I think that I have is that moving forward, and I don't want to sound messed up, but I think this kind of goes with the way that his passing in a sense, but just how the holidays are going to be impacted because of it. And also I think just with everything that I personally have had to endure, the amount of loss that I've had in my life, it does impact, and it will impact everything moving forward. And honestly, it has. All of these deaths have really impacted the way that I navigate my life. Because I never thought, at least up to this point, I have yet to have this many deaths that I faced. 5 since July, which I know I talked about last week. And some people had even hit me up like, dude, that's insane. I didn't realize it, because over your podcasting time, yeah, you have been talking about it's one person, then it's another person, then it's another person, but I didn't realize it had been 5. I'm like, yeah, so I've changed. But I think the biggest thing that I'm taking away from all of this is I need to put my time where I feel that it belongs, out of respect for myself, out of love for myself, because I realized that there's certain people that I want around. There's certain people that I want to be around. There's places that I want to be, and I need to put myself there. And if I don't want to be somewhere, it might not be something personal, but I just don't want to be there because I don't feel like it doesn't work anymore. It doesn't feel right anymore. And I'm sure even as I'm saying this right now, a lot of you are probably like, damn, I know what that's like. Or I'm experiencing that right now, or I've felt like that in the past. And I think with this time that I think we were all facing, I think a lot of us are in a time of change. Things are shifting for us career-wise, personally, emotionally, all of that. I think we're all dealing with some sort of change to an extent right now, because at least everyone that I've come across, all the people in my life, they all seem to be in this really weird place. Things are just moving. They're shifting in ways that they never really thought of, or things that they never thought they'd experience, they are now experiencing. So you're having to reevaluate. And I feel like now I'm having to reevaluate, which I know I've talked to you guys about, right? Like the fact that my relationships with people, I'm reevaluating those, and I still am. I'm still having to look at people around me and kind of shift, push and pull and move things about. But I'm also doing that with everything else in my life. Where am I putting my time? Where am I putting my energy? Who should I be around? Why should I be around these people? Honestly, that's the biggest question. Why do I want to be around these people, and why do I not want to be around these people? Trying to prioritize myself, my mental health, because if I'm in a good place, I can also help other people to be in a better place. For example, with my mom. Depending on the family situation, regardless, my mom's she's always with me. My grandma, same thing. She's always with me. And if I can be in a good mental state, if I feel strong enough in the moment, I can help them if they don't feel up to it. If something's going on, if they're feeling kind of sad, or they're feeling kind of out of it, I can work with them to get through those hard times and those moments. But I have to be okay. And it's the age-old thing that we constantly hear, right? How are you going to take care of other people if you can't take care of yourself? You know, like, how are you going to help other people if you're not good? So right now, I'm having to prioritize myself and make sure that I'm good, and figure out the different ways to make sure that I am good. And with that being said, what I think is really important to talk about is just the holidays in general. Because I was like, okay, I had one idea for this week. I was fully gung-ho on about it. I said, cool, I'm going to do this. And that's it. We're done. Then today, actually, I started to think, and I was going through it, writing my notes, just getting ready. And then I was like, damn, it doesn't feel right. I was like, I kind of want to talk about this. So I figured I want to go through the holidays with you guys, and I want to talk about like the difficulties and just how to go about it. So I was trying, it's so big. There's so many things that we can talk about regarding the holidays. So I broke it down into 8 categories, because I feel like those are probably the best things that we could talk about, and just kind of just go from there. Start the conversation. See, hopefully it goes somewhere. Maybe for you guys, it makes you think about things. Maybe it starts conversations with friends, family, however. But I think that these 8 things are really important to talk about right now, especially the fact that we've passed one and we're coming into the rest of the holidays, because they're coming. They're here. We're in it. We are in the season officially. I think for me, like as of Thanksgiving, that starts the race. Like that's the beginning of the relay. Now you're going to start running the rest of it, and hopefully you can get to the end of the marathon. But the first thing I want to talk about is navigating family dynamics, because I honestly think having to deal with family, the relationships, they're extremely complex, especially during the holidays. There's people that we have to be around that we don't like, or we don't necessarily want to be around. Maybe they make us uncomfortable. Maybe they say weird shit, or maybe they're just not good people, right? Like, how do you deal with that? And it kind of goes off of what I was telling you guys earlier, what I was talking about with Evely. And I think you have to develop some sort of self-awareness, realize what it is that you need. Why do you need that? And continue moving forward with that. So if there's certain people you don't want to be around, you don't have to be around them. We're all adults here. Every single one of us is an adult that's listening to this. if you don't want to be somewhere, you don't have to be somewhere. I think that's my favorite thing that I've realized in becoming an adult, is that if I don't want to be somewhere, I literally do not have to be there. It's not like I'm getting dragged there with my family. And even if I am, I can remove myself from the situation regardless. Like if I'm going to my aunt's house for something, for a family thing, if I don't want to be there, I can go outside, go for a walk. I can literally leave. I can, drive separately. However, but I think once we realize that, there's so much power in that we can remove ourselves from these situations. But there's also the complexity of just things that you cannot run from. So I would say even like parents, some of us have to deal with really difficult parents, whether it's mom, dad, both. And maybe going home for the holidays is a little bit of like it's like a Sour Patch experience, where it has all these moments of like really sour, really angry, but then it's also like sweet at the same time, and it's kind of manageable. So it's like trying to find the balance in where to be and how to be with different people in different situations. So as we learn to deal with that, as we learn to deal with ourselves, as we learn to process all of these things that are happening, I think we always have to grant ourselves some sort of patience, grace, the same thing that we would give unto other people. We have to give it to ourselves, because it's moments like this that teach us how to deal with that. Right. And what I always think is interesting is, at least everyone that I talk to that's within my circle, everybody has some sort of difficulty with family. I have yet to meet people that are like, the holidays are amazing, everything is so great. And I always feel bad for homies that have to fly out or go home, quote unquote home, to see their families. Because when they get there, it's always the same thing. It's like, dude, I can deal with this for about 2 days, 3 days tops. And then I start to lose my mind. Like, I need to get out. I need to get away. And they're like, what do I do? And it's always funny because it never fails. Come around the holidays, that's when I start getting texts start being exchanged with people. And it's like, dude, I'm losing it. What am I doing? I got to get out of here. Help me. This is happening. What do I say? What do I do? And I'm not saying people run to me, but this is the time of the year that usually conversations start to happen like that. And it's tough, man. It's tough. And I know for me, it's very bittersweet. And this year is going to be very different because, for example, dealing with like a complex relationship, my uncle and I, the one who passed, Alfredo, oh man, he and I have a really complicated past, really, really complicated. And I know, like, I've talked about it, some of it here on the podcast in like very early episodes, but we had a really complicated relationship, and holidays were always tough with him. He always had something to say. He would always open his mouth about something. When it came to, let's say, Christmas time and like opening gifts, he always had some sort of smart ass remark for literally anything. And having to deal with that, like, I would stress about it every single year. Like, what is this fool gonna say now? What's he gonna say this year? What's he gonna say? But at the same time, again, I'm not gonna have that anymore. And even though it's weird because there's like a sense of relief, because of that, there's also a lot of sadness because it's like, damn, there's a big missing piece. There's a big puzzle piece missing right now. And it's not going to happen. Like, it doesn't feel the same. And like, for example, just with his kids, I know they're kind of dealing with the death in a certain way. His wife is dealing with the death a certain way. Myself, my mom, grandma, we're all processing it differently. So I think it affects everything because we're all still trying to navigate the situation. But again, this is a complexity. This is something that is weird that I'm no longer going to have. And that's going to shift up my holidays. Even on Thanksgiving, like, it was weird, like, not hearing him talk about certain things or go off or say something insanely outlandish where I'm like, damn, bro, like, I can't believe you just said that shit out loud. It's not there anymore. And it really has shifted the dynamic, like, to the point where, to be honest with you guys, like, I don't know if we'll continue doing Thanksgiving the way that we just did it, because it just, I don't know. It doesn't feel right. I didn't like it as much as it's like keep family together and like keep quote unquote traditions alive. This was something that we started doing, trying to bring like the families together, like as of recent. But it's one of those things where I'm like, nah, man, it doesn't feel right anymore. It's not like we came together for him, but at the same time, he was the bridge for all of us. He was the bridge for all of us. So we would come together and try to do things because he was the one that could bring us together, right? Like we would go to his house because of him. Everything that would happen like that would be like because of him. Because we are not necessarily connected to the other family. We're not connected to the other side. So there's no reason for us to like, oh, let's all get together type of thing. So it's really weird. But again, this is part of dealing with how weird holidays can be and how dealing with weird people and certain things. But when those tension points are removed, what do you do? Right? You kind of have to redo your strategy on how you're going to deal with the dynamics, because now the person, let's say, that you would talk to when you go to family functions is not there anymore. And the person you would kick it with is just not there anymore. And so it's when we have to sit back and deal with that, it's very different. But I think it's something that we all have to do. And it's important to talk about. It's really important. Whether you are going to be attending some sort of family event and someone's going to be there, let's say you're going to go with your parents and you tell your parents, be open about it. Hey, honestly, dude, I'm really not cool with Uncle so-and-so or, Tia so-and-so being there because they always say this, that, and the third, and it makes me uncomfortable, or I don't like it, or it upsets me. It never fails. Every year they always have to say something. So honestly, I'm not going to be going with you guys this year. Like, it's okay to say stuff like that. And if it makes them upset, it's like, dude, this isn't a you guys thing. This is about me. So again, we have to be aware of that. Develop that sort of self-awareness. What is it that you need? You can be selfish around the holidays. It's cool if you want to be around family and stuff like that. But if it's going to be to the point where it hurts/hinders you, rethink it. Check it out. Look into it a little bit more. And I think the next thing that's really important, kind of where I started talking about it a little bit, which was dealing with grief and loss during the holidays, right? And exploring essentially like how the holidays can now become difficult because of like losing someone. And I guess you're always having to be mindful of that, right? And right now, like I know for my family, the people around me, we've all suffered loss. All of us, family, friends, and we're all having to reevaluate and reassess how holidays are being had. That, again, like I was saying, right, there's going to be one less person at these things. And it's very important for us to develop healthy coping mechanisms, having support systems, or like people that we run to and that we know that they have us, because the coping mechanisms and the people that we run to, all of that, it's important to have. We have to have people that we can talk to, whether it's a therapist, whether it's a friend, whether it's family, somebody like that. I do think it's very important to have somebody, someone that you can speak to. Because you're still, maybe you kind of forgot about it for a little bit, right? If somebody passed. And it's not that you forget about the person, but maybe you forgot about it for a little bit. Maybe you got really busy. Work's been crazy. You're trying to just get a grip on life. All of a sudden the holidays come up. Oh shit. You really start to think about this person. You start to think about these things. If you've gone through a breakup, maybe you start to really think about your ex. These are the times, right? It's the holidays. These are the most difficult times. They bring up all kinds of stuff. It's beautiful and it's really happy, but it's also really sad at the same time. So that's just an example. But again, it could be family passing, friend, whatever. People, you're still mourning people who are still alive. Again, maybe through a breakup. It could have been even a friend. Maybe you disconnected with a friend and you're really sad about it. Talk about those things. The same way we talk about it on the show all the time. Talk about your emotions. Find your group, find your circle, find your person if it's a person. Talk about it with them. Yo, I feel like this. Honestly, like I hate the way that I feel, or this makes me sad, or this makes me feel like this. When you talk about those things out loud, it helps you process it. I think it's important to talk about it with yourself too, like have those kind of out loud conversations, but have conversations with people that you really trust, that you love, that you care for, and that you know are also going to help you, where there's some sort of volleyball going on. There's back and forth, right? That you're going to say something and that they can give you some sort of meaningful, something to take home, something to just kind of help you out. And now, honestly, if it's a venting thing, make sure that you tell the person that you're talking to that, hey, look, I need to talk to you about something, but I just want to vent. Like, I'm not really looking for advice. I'm not really looking for anything. I just need somebody to hear me out. Can you hear me out? And I bet you more often than not, people will appreciate that, because the worst thing, you guys, is, let's say when someone wants that, but they don't tell you that, obviously you don't know. And let's say they give you some stuff that's going on with the situation for them. And then you speak your mind on it. Turns out, oh, damn, you probably shouldn't have spoke your mind on it. And it's like, well, I didn't know. You didn't say you didn't want me to say anything. You didn't say to not give my 2 cents. Like, I wasn't sure. So I think it's really important for us as people to constantly communicate when we can. If we have certain things we're looking for, certain needs, communicate those, even if it's with your friends, family, whatever. Hey, again, I just want to talk to you about something, but it's more so of a venting sesh. Like, I just want to get this off my chest. I want to get this off my mind. I'm not really looking for any feedback on it. This is just how I feel. Cool. Now the person knows you can speak freely, do your thing. And maybe even if after the fact you finish speaking and you ask them, hey, so like, honestly, what do you think? I know I said I didn't want any feedback or I didn't want anything like that, but let's say I turn around and ask you, what do you think? Okay, cool. There's your green light. Now you guys can have a back and forth. You guys can go about it. But communicate those things. Set up those circles, set up those people, establish those connections so that you guys have someone, you guys have people, you guys have places, things that you can go to and talk about. Because it's very, very important, especially when it comes to dealing with grief and loss. It's very important. Deal with those emotions, sit with them. If you feel sad, sit in the sadness. If you feel a little depressed, sit in it for a while. Process it. Why do you feel that way? Have conversation with yourself and let yourself kind of navigate it naturally. Because I think we have the answers to all of our problems. For the most part, we can solve our problems if we sit with them, if we truly just kind of let whatever it is that's happening wash over us. Eventually it kind of draws back out. Sometimes we need help, which again, this is why I'm saying to set up your support system, set up your circle. But for a lot of these things, sometimes you just have to be with it. You just got to be sad. You got to kind of think about the loss, deal with the grief, go through it. It's okay. It's okay to not be okay, especially right now in the holiday season. It's okay to not be okay. Don't ever force yourself to get through an emotion. Don't ever force yourself to try and move through something, because that will actually end up hindering you later. It will hurt you, I promise, in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's you personally, your relationship, something with your family, with your job, it will end up coming out in some way, shape, or form. Some way, shape, or form. And next thing you know, however many years later, when something comes up, you're like, dang, I remember I never used to be like that. And all of a sudden after this happened, and then it clicks like, oh, dude, I never really dealt with that. I never really felt it. I never let myself feel anything for this thing that happened. And that's why, for me, like, that's why I always recommend therapy. It's a non-judgmental space where you have someone that can just sit there and listen to you and help you. If you don't have the tools and you need the tools to cope, to deal, to process, those are the people to help you out. Those are the people to help you out. And again, I'm not saying you have to go to therapy, but for me, it's been a big help. And also just kind of developing my own methods of self-work and what I look to, who I look to, what I run to, what I want to read, what I put in front of me. It's very important to have those things. But during the holiday season, don't push away dealing with grief and loss. Bring it closer to you. Deal with it. It's going to help you guys. I promise that. Like, it will help you guys. Because on top of that, you're helping yourself, and you're also going to have more tools. You're going to have more experience under your belt, so that let's say someone around you goes through something like that, they're dealing with a loss or something goes down. Now you can come to their rescue. You can help out. You might not be able to fix everything, right? I think sometimes we get wrapped up in wanting to fix everything for people, but we can't. But if we can be of assistance to help people, then why not? And you allowing yourself to go through these things is only going to build up your belt. It's always going to build up your experience. And that's a part of life. I think sometimes we're all supposed to experience certain things because you're meant for a bigger purpose. And maybe it's to have that sort of talent to be able to help people with certain things. So take it in. Take it in. It's a healthy thing. As hard as it is, it's really healthy. And the next big one I want to talk about is the financial stress. I think that comes along with holidays, like just the pressure of spending. And the holidays don't always have to be that. They don't have to be this massive dollar sign that sits over your head, because I think for a lot of us, we all got things to pay for. We all got bills. We all got stuff going on. Why is it always that, like, when the holidays come around, it's like, damn, stress. I got to buy all this. I got to do all that. I got to buy all this, do all that. It's like, nah, dude, take a step back. Hold on. Maybe it doesn't have to be all crazy. Maybe you don't have to host the party this year. Maybe you don't have to do everything, like, there's so many ways to go about it. So many ways to go about it. And I think it's really important to like budget and figure out your expenses for holidays and like set limits and things like that. Look at the people around you, what's going on. And I think also what's really important is ask, when you're going to be giving people stuff, unless you're super observant and you can see what people need, whether it's like for their house or for themselves or for their cars or whatever. If you're not that kind of person, or you don't really know what somebody wants, save yourself the money and literally ask the person, what is it that they want or need if you're going to get them a gift? Because sometimes, believe it or not, and it can be for anything. I feel like for bills too, like let's say they have a phone bill and they want it taken care of and you were going to spend $100 anyway. Tell them, like, when you're asking, like, dude, like, what do you want this Christmas? What can I get for you? Because, I want to get you something, but I don't know what to get you. Like, oh, I don't know, nothing. Like, dude, what's up? Like, ask me for anything. Like, if you want me to cover your phone bill next month, I got you. $100, boom, done, set. Or if it's like, let's say they have to get a lot of groceries all the time. So be mindful of that. Like, okay, well, maybe I'll grab them a $100 gift card or $50 gift card to Ralph's. Done. Aldi, whatever, Target, done. Like, look at what their expenses are, like what people, like, it's okay to have those conversations, because I honestly feel like those gifts are super meaningful. And like, I've even had that with family this year. Like, yo, what is it that you need? What is it that you want? And when they start to immediately think about gifts, like socks, shirts type of stuff, or, whatever, I'm like, no, like anything. Even if you have a bill or you have something like a place that you're always going, like, okay, what's up? You always go to Target. That's where you get certain things. You get your groceries, or that's where you're getting stuff for the kids, or that's where you buy some of their toys. Like, okay, cool. That's an expense. Let me help you out with that. Sick. Here's a gift card to Target. Straight. For them, it's like, oh, dude, that's awesome. So it's okay. Like, have those conversations with people. Ask. It's all right. Because what the saddest part, I think, is when people go out, buy gifts, and then they end up just sitting there, or it gets just forgot about or lost or returned or something. And it's like, ah, damn, like what cracks me up is like those meaningless gifts. Like when you see certain family, it's like turns around and buys them like a vase. It's like, damn, you could have just not got that vase and gotten something else. You know what I mean? Like, I love coffee. Could have got me like a really good bag of coffee. Done. Problem solved. But that's what I'm saying. It's just, sometimes you got to be a little more observant around the holidays. That's my personal advice, is be a little more observant, see what's up, see what people need. But again, have those open conversations, and also set limits and just say, okay, let's say I'm only going to buy immediate family gifts this year because that's all I can afford. And I can only do $50 a person, then $50 a person it is. Gift cards across the board. And if you want to wild out for your person, or you have a special friend or whatever, wild out. It's okay. But set those budgets and stick to them. And if it's for yourself, hey, sometimes you got to sprinkle yourself. And for me, when it comes to the holiday season, that's the time to sprinkle yourself. You deserve it. You've been busting your ass all year. You've been having to deal with shit all year. If you've been sad, you've been kind of just going through it, sprinkle yourself. Sprinkle yourself. Get yourself something nice. Get yourself a Christmas gift. I do that every single year. I know it sounds wild because some people don't do that, but I've been doing it for the longest time. I always get myself a gift, and I wrap it up too. Even though obviously I know what it is, I still wrap it up. Come Christmas time, Merry Christmas to me. So open it up. Happy camper. I'm like, yep. I did that. So it's just, sometimes you got to do that. But again, look at your budgets. sit there. Don't feel the pressure to have to do things or the need to do things. Because again, especially for some people, let me be honest, some people don't deserve it. So it's like, you know what? I'm not even about to do this. No. So look at your finances, check everything out, see what's up. You don't always have to carry it. Again, maybe you're not the person that has to host this year. Maybe you go somewhere else. Cool. I'm going to show up with the dish. So instead of having to host a party costing a couple $100, maybe all you do is have to make a dish and you go somewhere else. Boom. Done. Or suggest to your family, hey, why don't you guys host this year? Whatever. And if you can't, then maybe, again, ask for help. See what's up. Okay, well, this year, I want us to all kind of pitch in and do this kind of thing. Cool. We're going to do a potluck this year. Cool. Big stress. Big takeoff of things, you know? So look at that. Because I know the financial stress when it comes to the holidays is huge. And I don't think it gets talked about enough. And another one on that same token, which kind of goes along with, or I think it can kind of feed off of the financial stress and the dealing with grief and loss, which is just kind of the loneliness and isolation that we deal with during the holidays. Because I think a lot of us tend to feel alone during this time. And you just, when you kind of experience that, you don't really know what to do with it. And I think this, like I was talking about earlier, it's important to talk about it. Find people that you care for, find people that you trust, that you know are not going to judge you, that just want to hear you out or that will hear you out. Talk about this with them. Yo, dude, like I'm feeling really alone right now. I have felt kind of alone as of late, something of the sort. Talk about those things. It is important to talk about those emotions. Because the last thing I think that we all want, and I think we all experience it to a certain extent, which is like, we don't want people in our lives that we love and that we care for to hurt. And we don't want them to feel a certain way. And granted, we might not be able to fix their problems, but if we can aid in some way, I know a majority of you watching and or listening right now would love to help the people in your life. And if somebody felt alone, hey, come over to the house. It's that simple, right? I don't want you to be alone. Come over to the house. Like if you know a friend's going to be spending the holidays by themselves, because let's say their family is in another place, another state, country. Hey, why don't you come spend the holidays with me? Come chill out at the house. We're going to eat, have some drinks, watch a movie. Join us, please. Because things like that, they can't happen if conversations aren't had. How are you supposed to know? You can't always check up on every single person around you. You can do your best. Sometimes sending a text, hey, just checking in, those types of things can spark those conversations. So I'm not saying to not do that. But for those of you who feel, again, if you feel lonely, you feel kind of isolated, talk to somebody about it. Because maybe you can solve the problem right there. Maybe the answer is right there in that conversation. So have it. Make sure and do that. And the next one is just a kind of piggybacks off of all of that, which is just mental health during the holiday season. And I think how much mental health impacts all of the holidays. I know for myself, this is always a really tough time, whether I'm like having to run around, do things for family, make sure everything's cool, whatever. I stress about it regardless. It's a stressor. And once again, I think all of these, they all kind of start to sound the same, right? Because it's like develop and create these systems so that you can talk about these things, so you can constantly relieve the stresses, relieve the things that you feel so that you can be on a level state all the time. But I know with everything that's gone down for a lot of people this year, it's been a really difficult year, really, really difficult. And if coming into the holidays, you don't feel the greatest or things just kind of aren't lining up, it's going to be even harder for you. That's why right now, for everyone around me, we try to have as many conversations as possible. I try to see certain people as many times as possible because it's good for me. It's good for them. And we've established that as people, as friends, as family, like, yo, this is what I need. I need you. I need more of you in my life because you make me feel XYZ type. Conversations have been had. We both know that. Let's do that. Let's insert each other into each other's lives and make sure that we always have each other. Boom, done. Helps me with my mental health, helps them with their mental health. So it's trying to be aware of all those things. But again, if you're not in a good place, it adds to your stress levels. It adds to everything. You start to crumble. Have an outlet for that. Make that a priority. Make that a number one. If not a number one, if you can't, I guess just it's not in your bandwidth, at least put it up there at the top of the list. Make it a priority. You start to feel a certain way. Ooh, I know what that is. I'm not feeling right. I gotta chill out. I gotta take some time, do that. Make time for your mental health. Make time to prioritize that. I think another one is kind of dealing and coping with the expectations of holidays, like discussing the pressures of having to create the perfect holiday experience. and having to manage those expectations every single year. Because like, let's say again, like I had mentioned earlier, right? When it comes to financials, this kind of piggybacks with financials because I feel like they kind of go off of that. Let's say you're the person that hosts the holidays every year, but you just can't. You can't this year. Maybe financially you're not there. Have the conversation with people. Hey, you know what? We're going to do a potluck this year so that maybe instead of having like a $600 dinner to feed however X amount of people, $500, maybe it goes down to like $20-$30 because you're like, cool, now I just have to make this dish and kind of have these little things here and there, maybe $50 total. Boom, done. Changing up the expectations. And also you kind of set realistic expectations because I feel like we try to do certain things to make other people happy, but sometimes it's just not feasible for multiple reasons, whether it's financially, mentally, emotionally, anything. There's so many things that you can trade. There's so many things that you can trade that we have all types of currency. I think when people hear currency, they immediately think about money, but we have emotional currency. We have all of that. It's all something. There's some sort of give and take in every situation, but having to discuss these pressures is very, very important because I feel like, again, it is not. And it's okay that if, again, maybe this year you can't do it, who knows? Maybe next year you can swing it. Maybe next year you'll be in a different financial position and you can make it happen. It's okay. Things can change. Things change, and that's okay. That's what life is all about, change. I get one thing to have traditions. The tradition it can still be there. It might be a little bit different, but hey, we're still all together. Or hey, you start new ones, and you're like, because this is what has to happen. I got to do this. I have to do this. Because me trying to deal with this every year and let's say having to live up to this holiday experience that I always create, if I can't make it happen, people are going to be disappointed. So what? That's a them problem. It's not a you problem. You do your best and you show up. And honestly, sometimes getting out of bed in the morning is more than enough. So sometimes you got to just pat yourself on the back for that. I think especially during this season, during the holidays, getting out of bed is enough. Dealing with certain family is enough. Going to work is enough, you know? So really be compassionate with yourself. Give yourself grace. Set realistic goals. And be okay with that. And you don't need anyone else's approval. You don't need anyone else's anything if you want to change something up. Again, if you don't want to host this year, don't host. Don't host. Simple. If you don't want to go somewhere, don't go there. Because you don't like the people there, exactly. Remove yourself from that. Because if you say, okay, well, if I'm not there and I'm not around these people, I'm going to be happy. And then if we go into, let's say, the whole lonely and isolation thing, it's like, but if I don't go here, I'm going to feel alone. But change it up. Change it up. Maybe hit up some friends. Hey, what are you guys doing this year? What are you doing right now? What are you doing today? Or, whatever day you're trying to do whatever you're going to do. Oh, nothing. Okay, make some new plans. All of a sudden, maybe you start a new tradition. Maybe you got something new going on. Or maybe just for this year, you did something different and it made your heart happy. You start to contribute to all those things that we've already talked about, right? Your mental health, financial stresses. You don't feel so lonely. You don't feel isolated and all of that. Like, it's okay. It's okay to change things up. I think it's really healthy. And sometimes we need it. We need that little toss up in life because you're still a person. You're still who you are. Life changes, things happen, and you roll with the punches, right? So as much as that's important, I think another one too, even speaking of work with the mention of it, balancing your work and your personal life during this time is wild for so many people. And I think we all need to remember that work is not life, especially during the holidays. There's certain things you can't miss, you don't want to miss, especially if you have kids or you have parents, grandparents that are a little on the elderly side. Be there. Make an effort to be there because you're not going to get these moments again. Every single time, every single day, whatever is going on, especially if it's holiday related or your family gets together, you got to do something, just be there. Prioritize that over your job. Your job is always going to be there. It's not that important for a majority of us. And I think we can all kind of agree. You're a number somewhere, right? You are a number. And why are you going to prioritize someplace that could care less about you, that would replace you the next day over spending a day with your family? Because you're afraid if you take a day off, oh my God, I'm going to get in trouble or something. You're entitled to that. You have your days, you have your sick days, you have whatever days you want to use, and you can't be guilted into not using those things or not doing certain things. Prioritize and learn to prioritize what is important in those moments, whether it's things in your personal life, your family, friends, events, anything like that, over the professional. Because again, work will always be there. You just have to learn what is important in the moment and what you have to do just to kind of make everything happen and make it all work. Because I remember for myself, I used to feel guilty. I used to feel guilty being in the corporate world. I would never take days off, ever. Never, never, never. Even if I was feeling the worst, still wouldn't do it. If I needed sick days, if I was like super sick, that I would. Everything else, no. Friends wanted to travel, things want to do that, I would just leave after work. When I had days and days, I had weeks of vacation at times, still wouldn't do it because I felt bad. And it's like, what? Being older now, especially being outside of corporate for the time that I have, I realize that even if I was to go back to a corporate job, dude, I'm going to use all my time, whatever time I have. Oh, you want to go here? Tight. I'll take Friday. Oh, you want to go here? Tight. I'll take Wednesday. Whatever time I need, I'm going to take it. And I know a lot of you listening are probably like, yeah. And that's what it is. Your job is just your job. Fuck that. They don't care about you. You have to care about yourself. Prioritize yourself. Because your job doesn't care about your family. They don't care about your friends. They don't care about the memories you make, whatever. All they care about is that you show up, you clock in, you do your thing. Again, you have your days, use them up. Do your thing. That's what's up. Make it happen. Take the vacations, take the days, make the memories, because that's what this life is about. You really want to spend the rest of your life just sitting there being like, dude, I was at a desk when I could have been over here 90% of the time. And I'm not saying quit your job and just go live your life like that. It's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying again is look at the balance. What is it that you need? And if your family's going to go here or your friends want to go here, it doesn't hurt to take a day. Prioritize that. It's all right. It's cool. It's again, finding that work-life balance. If you work on Saturdays and Sundays, maybe during the holidays, you kind of slow it down a little bit. Maybe you only work till a certain time because you want to spend more time with family and friends. There you go. Start to balance it out. Take a step back. Check it out. See what's up. And I think the last one that's really important, and I'm not going to say I think in a sense, I think it's kind of the most important one, is the self-care during the holidays. Because there's so many different ways you can do it. And it's so important to keep your mental health in check, to keep you in check. Because it can be tough during the holidays to lend to self-care. Because I think for a lot of people, they become selfless and you start to just kind of do too much for other people. But how are you going to do for other people if you're not okay? If you can't even do for yourself? You got to feed yourself. You got to nourish yourself, your soul, your mind, your body, everything in order for you to be able to nourish and help other people. And if you need to take days to do that, like if you don't feel good today, you need a day for yourself, take it. You want to go get yourself something nice? Go get yourself something nice. Hey, self-care, sprinkle yourself. I'm never going to tell you no. I'll always tell you to run up, do it, make it happen. Put that first. It is very important. If you're in a situation with people you don't want to be around, again, like we've talked about constantly throughout this episode, remove yourself. That's a part of self-care. Paying attention to your emotions, to your mental state, to your stress levels, all of that, and you doing something that can fix those issues, that is you caring for yourself. Do it this holiday season. If you've never paid attention to that, if you don't ever pay attention to it, start paying attention to it now. Give yourself the time and energy that you deserve. Give yourself the grace that you deserve, that you give to other people. As easy as you are on them, be easy on yourself. Don't turn away from that. Don't shy from that, because it's going to hurt you. The last thing you want is to be run up to Christmas. All of a sudden you're burned out, absolutely wrecked. Pot's boiling over. You don't know how to deal. You can't deal. How did this happen? How did whatever? The answer is right there. If you look in the mirror, you did it to yourself. You allowed all of these things to happen. You let your family, for example, have all of your free time. Can't do that. Even if it's 30 minutes, even if it's an hour, set the time for yourself. Be strict with it. Hey, I'll be right back. I got to get away for a minute. Okay, so be it. Do it for you. Prioritize that. Self-care is number one during the holidays. For myself, I've come to realize that over the years, and I don't think I won't ever change it. I always have to make time for myself. I have to do things for myself because it makes me happy. It makes me feel good. And in turn, I can help other people. I can make other people feel good. I can just kind of, my happiness meter is a little bit, it's overflowing at that point. If I can make myself happy, it's overflowing, and I can help other people, and I can sprinkle that onto them too, you know? And that's a part of my self-care. My guy. Once again, you guys, I can't talk. I don't know what's going on. But that's a part of my self-care, is making sure other people feel loved, making sure other people feel cared for, they feel seen, they feel heard. So if I can do certain things, again, to feed that, to make sure that I'm good, that means that I can feed other people to make sure that they're good. That's just an example. But make sure you guys prioritize that. Make sure you guys do that this year. And as always, I try to find some sort of advice or like ideas to end on. And I read something that I thought was really cool, and I wanted to read it to you guys. And it was, some days aren't about getting better. Some days are just about being alive. And once again, some days aren't about getting better. Some days are just about being alive. And I think there's so much beauty in that little sentence, because I think we are always worried and concerned about having to one up every day and having to get further and further and further and push and push and push. Stop. This is a specific reason why when people ask me, like, how are you doing today? I'm like, you know what? Again, almost 99% of the time when I say it, people always sit there and they're like, oh shit. I always say, I'm doing all right. I woke up today, because being alive is enough. And with the amount of death that I've experienced, with the amount of turmoil that's been around me, waking up every single day is enough. It actually makes me feel just rich. It makes me feel just overflowing with that, because I have the opportunity to do so. I can walk on the legs that I have. I can use my hands. I can go do whatever. You know, I can talk, I can hear, I can see. When you have so much stuff that really affects you like that, and you see so many things, you start to take those little things for granted, and you don't want to, right? Like, again, being able to see, being able to use your hands, you know, your legs, your arms, all that stuff. For myself, like, I know this year, I've talked about it on the podcast too, like my mom, she had eye surgeries. She had like surgery in both of her eyes because she was losing her vision, and it was pretty severe. It was getting pretty bad. She was starting to go blind. And after her surgeries, and just kind of seeing her see again, I was like, dude, not that I took my vision for granted, but I appreciated it so much more, as if I already didn't. But again, so situations like that, sometimes it's about being alive. Sometimes it's about getting up in the morning. Look around you. Look at the things that you do on a daily basis. Look at all of that, because it's a gift. Everything that you can do. Again, sometimes opening your eyes is more than enough. So I hope this episode gave you guys something to talk about, something to think about, things to be kind of just aware of during the holiday season. Remember yourself, put yourself first. As much as we want to give and be around other people during the holidays, listen to yourself, hear yourself out. Be patient, give yourself love, grace, all of those things. Patience. That's number one too. I know for myself, I always need a lot of it during the holidays. But I'm sending you guys nothing but love, light, good vibes, good things. And I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful holiday season. I hope you guys have a great weekend. And I'll catch you guys next week for the next episode.